Hi everyone, Leah here from EurekaCrystalBeads.com with another fun beading video for you. Before I get started, just a quick reminder to go check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll always know when we're posting new content. What I have to show you today is a great way to bezel one of our favorite Swarovski stones, the 8mm Chaton. And what I love about this little method is that it only uses 2 different items aside from the actual Chaton. All you need to do this are size 11 Miyuki Delicas, Toho Eikos would certainly work as well, and Swarovski's newest size of pearl, the 2mm Swarovski pearl. The particular colors I have here in this sample are the new Ocean Delight colored Chaton, and I have the 2mm pearls in iridescent light blue, which is one of my favorites. And then I just have a galvanized silver Delica, which adds to that sort of fine jewelry look. And I think this is just a lovely, adorable little pendant. You could wear it layered with other pieces. You could have it as a dangle off of a bracelet near the clasp, and I think it's a beautiful addition in that capacity. But sometimes I think less is more, and a beautiful, simple little pendant is a wonderful gift to give to others, or when you just feel like wearing something understated. The colors I'm going to use today in the one that I'll make for the video is that same galvanized Miyuki Delica. I have the Chaton in one of the other new colors, which is Laguna Delight, and I'm using the 2mm pearl in iridescent Tahitian. So let's get started. The other items you're going to need for this project are a size 12 needle, and you're going to need a couple of feet of 6-pound fire line. I recommend using the crystal fire line if you're going to be using the same silver colored Delica, but if you are going to change up the Delica you're using, you're going to want to just match the fire line as best you can, whether it's the crystal or the smoke or what have you. I'm going to start by picking up 8 of my 2mm Swarovski pearls with a Delica in between each one. Okay, so I've picked up all of my beads, and this is what you want to see. You essentially want to see pearl, Delica, and then repeat that 7 more times. So that way you're starting with a pearl and you're ending with a Delica. Now I'm going to slide this to within a couple inches of the end of my thread. Leave a tail that's long enough that you know you could stick a needle on it later to weave it in. And I'm next going to tie my tail and my working thread in a square knot, and that's right over left, then left over right. Sort of like a double knot, but that second knot is backwards. And what I like to do is tie both my knots and then bring them down together at the same time. And then tighten it up. We have our little loop here. Now the size of this loop is going to be the perfect size to hold in our Chaton, but still expose enough of the Chaton where we really get to see all of the light bounce into that crystal and just look so super sparkly. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a few beads just so I can help to pull my knot into my beadwork a little bit. I always like to start off my beading coming out of a bead and not just coming off of a knot that's showing up in between 2 beads. So kind of whatever my needle happened to pop through, as long as I end coming out of a Delica. Just like this, that's what you want to see. Now we're going to utilize some square stitch, and we're going to make some little, I can best describe them as arms, and we're going to make some arms coming off of each of the Delicas in that circle. And the way that that's going to work is that you're going to pick up a new Delica, and you're going to circle back into the Delica you're coming out of, so that way your tail and your working thread are popping out of the same bead and on the same side of that bead. When you pull your thread all the way down, you lock that Delica right into place. Give it a nice little tug to keep it tight. Now we want to add another bead on top of the one that we just added. But to do that, we have to be coming out of that bead. So we're just going to head right up and pass through that new bead as well. Give it a nice little tug. Now we're going to pick up another delica, and we're going to do the same thing, only you'll notice that the thread path is reversed this time. We're going to head right into that delica, so our needle and our thread are coming out of the same bead and of the same side. And you're going to notice that this will lock down that new delica. Just like that. It's a little bit loose, but we just pull it to tighten it up. Pinch it between your fingertips if you have to, and then just give it a nice little tug. And that's what we have. And it's okay that it doesn't look perfect. Once we move on to the next step, that'll actually help to tighten this up, and then it will look perfect. So the last thing to do is take notice of where your thread is coming out of. Right now we're coming out of the middle delica in that little group of 3. What we're going to do is just head right back down into the delica in the ring, and then through the next pearl and the next delica. I'll give you a nice good close-up shot of that. So this right here, this is our working thread. This is the one our needle is attached to, and you can see it coming out of that middle delica. And we're just going to head down into the first delica that's in the ring, through the pearl, and through the next delica after that. And when you give it a nice little tug, that's going to help to tighten up. Beautifully. So this is what we have. So now I'm going to repeat those steps on every single one of the delicas in my ring exactly. So if you need a review, you can just rewind back in the video to rewatch that bit. Otherwise, I'm going to cut away and I will come back to you in just a minute with all of my new little arms created. Okay, I've gone ahead and made the rest of my little arms here. And the last arm that I created was actually this one right here. And then as I wove back down the arm to go through the next pearl and delica, as if I was going to create another arm, which was in this spot right here, actually the arm that I first started with, I just zigzagged and wove right up to the tip of the very first arm I created. And that's where I'm coming out of now. So the next step is going to be to start to lock that chaton into our setting here. And for that, we're going to utilize every other arm around the circle. So you're going to want to take every other arm and just sort of fold them back out of the way. So say you can imagine the ones at 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. So that way you leave kind of sticking up the one you're coming out of, and then this one here, and then this one right there. Those are the ones we're going to utilize for now. And I'm going to pick up 2 delicas, and I'm going to, again, skip over the next arm and go into the tip of the arm after that. And don't worry about pulling anything tight. We don't have to pull anything tight here yet. I'm going to pick up 2 more delicas, skip over the next arm, and go into the tip of the arm after that. You'll see how we're kind of just letting those sit down there for now, just out of the way, just out of the way. 2 more delicas, skip the next arm and go into the tip of the arm after that. And then lastly, 2 delicas, skip over the next arm and go into the tip of the arm after that, which is the very first one that we started with. And again, we're not pulling anything tight yet. Keep all of those arms that you skipped over underneath, and so your threads here don't get caught around them. We want them out of the way underneath for now. Now, before I go ahead and pull anything tight, what I'm going to do is take my chaton here, and I find it easiest just to sit this right down on your beading surface, and you're going to take it and place it face down right onto the little ring. Use your finger to hold here, and then pull nice and tight. You'll see that we get the arms that we've gone through, they pull in and they create the little seat that our chaton's going to sit in, which is adorable. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is that your little loop of beads that you made, they're going to want to loosen up a bit. We actually have to circle through them a few times to get them to tighten up. So even if you pull them nice and tight, they're going to want to loosen up a little bit. So all I want you to do at this point is circle through all of these beads here 2 or 3 times, whatever you need, just to tighten it up. It doesn't have to be completely mostly tight, but well, yeah, it needs to be mostly tight. We don't want to see any of our thread exposed. So I'll be back in a minute once I've done that. Okay, so as you can see, that little beaded ring on the back is staying nice and tight. And this is what it looks like from the back, and this is what it looks like from the front. And again, you can see how we're really exposing a lot of that chaton, so we can get the most out of that sparkle, but it's still held in there securely, which is one of the reasons I love this design so much. So at this point, all I've done is I finished reinforcing that ring, and I ended reinforcing the ring by stopping at one of the delicas that was the tip of an arm. Then I just simply zigzagged up an arm here and then went through across my ring a little bit, through the pearl, through the delica, and then up here to the tip of one of my upper arms. That's it. Just from here to here to here to here. Nice and simple. Because now we're going to tack down these upper arms, and they're also going to sit down towards the back of the stone. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you're coming out of the tip of that arm. You're going to fold that arm back, and you're going to see how it sort of lines up right in the center of the two delicas that we plugged in between these two arms here. So right there. And we're going to go right in between those two delicas and just head around your circle until we're coming out in between the next little pair of delicas that we added in. So I'm going to get to that little spot before I pull everything all down. And this little tail is going to pull back. And what it's going to do is it's going to force itself to sit right in between those two delicas that we had been plugged in there. Now this one's sitting a little bit wonky, and that's okay. Once we get all the way back around, we'll be able to finish tacking it down from the other side of that little end delica. So that's totally normal. So again, here we're coming out in between the two delicas that we plugged in between the two arms. We're going to go through the delica at the end of the arm here. And then go, let me get that in focus, and then go right through the very next delica. And again, you want to go all the way around your beadwork until you're coming out of, well, the next few beads anyway, until you're coming out of in between the next little pair. But I'm going to show you how that just is going to pull down. And you can see how it just pops itself right in there, and it kind of sits at a little bit of an angle. It's what sort of makes the back actually look a little bit squarish, which I think is a nice effect. So again, we're coming out of the middle of the little pair of delicas we added. We're going to go into the delica at the end of that arm, and then through the very next delica in the ring. And again, it's going around the ring until we're coming out of in between the next little pair to set us up to do it again. And it pulls them right in. You're going to have to give it a little bit of a tug just to get it to sit in there nicely. That is what we get. You can see the first two that I added right here and right here. And they create this lovely little sort of squarish angle at the back, like kind of a soft square, which I really like. So I'm going to do that one more time. Go through the end of the arm. And then through the next three delicas in our ring. So that way we can pull this one in. It pulls it right down. And now we're at the spot where we can go through the tip delica of the very first arm that we tacked down, because right now that delica is sort of only tacked down at one side. So we're going to go through it again to sort of center it so it sits in between those two delicas a little bit more nicely. And it just kind of centers it in there a little bit better. Give it a nice good tug. And that is what the back looks like. Takes on, like I said, a little bit more of a rounded square. Let me give you a better focused view. Just like that. Okay, so now was the easy part. Now we just have to finish it up with a quick little bail. So all I'm going to do is head up the little arm that I'm at, and through the next delica above that, the one that's the very tip of, or rather around the very ring holding in the chaton. Remember, give it a nice good tug. Keep everything nice and tight. And now we're going to do a really easy little square stitch bail, which I'll show you on this one. Little sweet, simple bail, nothing extravagant. We don't want to do anything too detailed to take away from the lovely little stone we have here. And you can make the bail loop as big as you'd like. I'm just putting a little sterling chain through it, so I didn't need it to be too large, but you may want to have in mind what you want to put this on when you make it. So let's see, actually, let me count how many are in here. So I did some square stitch, 6 beads high. So pick up your new delica, and this is going to be like when we made the arms. Okay, so we're going to loop back into the delica we're coming out of. So that way our working thread and our tail are both popping out of the same spot. Pull it down, and it pulls that delica right into place. And then we go up through the next delica, and that sets us up to add on the next square stitched bead to that little bail. So again, pick up a new delica, through the last delica we added, loop back around and through, pull it down, it adds another little layer, and then up through the new bead, and it sets us up to now add the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and add the remaining beads that I need, and I'll see you back here in a minute. All right, so I've added on 6 additional delicas, well, total. Let me see, there you go, you can see them there. And this is just going to fold back to start to create that loop, as you can see. Now, to close up the loop, you want to pay attention to the side that your thread is popping out on, which is this side here. And you're going to go through from that same side, the delica below the one you worked the loop off of. So if you can see right here is the one you worked off of. Let me give you a good angle here. Right there is the one you worked off of. So we're going to circle into the one right below it, which is this one, but coming from this direction because we want to be on the same side here. Just like that. And again, it's the one below the one you built this little loop off of. And it's going to close down your loop, just like that. If it looks at all a little wonky, it just might be because your tension was a little bit between 2 different beads that were added. That's all right. You can easily just adjust that. There we go. And then you're going to loop around back into the bead that was at the very end of your little chain. So that way you can secure it. You get a little loop of fire line. You can see that we have to just pull down tight. So at this point, anywhere your needle happens to want to go through, any path you want, you can catch your needle underneath your stitches of thread and you can start to tie your overhand knots. Let's see, let me go through another couple of beads to get to a good spot, and I can show you how one of those is done. There we go. You just catch your needle right underneath your thread here, right behind your beadwork. Pull almost all the way through until you get that loop. Go through your loop and close your knot right where your working thread was coming out from in between those 2 beads. Just like that. Weave through another few beads, repeat, weave through another few beads, and repeat. And then that is all she wrote, folks. So Again, I think this is a beautiful little design to hang off of a simple chain, or to even make a pair and have a lovely simple pair of earrings. I think they're great as a bracelet charm. It's just a really versatile, cute, adorable little pendant design that utilizes very few ingredients, which makes it super easy to make. And I hope you love it. So that wraps it up. Thank you for watching, and make sure to visit us on over at eurekacrystalbeads.com for all the materials I used in this video, and we will link them to you as well. Bye.